Welcome to Dreamtale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Lonely Alarm Clock. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Keep your eyes closed or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The Lonely Alarm Clock begins now. And when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Lonely Alarm Clock. On a small table next to a bed sat a little red alarm clock. His name was Tick-Tock, and he was very proud of his job. Every morning at 7 o'clock, he would ring his bell and call out, "Wake up! Wake up! Time to start your day." Tick-Tock loved his work more than anything in the world. He felt important when his owner, a young man named David, jumped out of bed at the sound of his bell. David would stretch, smile, and say, "Thank you, Tick-Tock." Another good morning, thanks to you. The little clock had been doing this job for 3 years. He remembered the day David bought him from the shop. David was 22 years old then, just starting his first real job at an office in the city. "I need a reliable alarm clock," David had told the shop owner. "Something that will never let me sleep late." The shop owner had picked up Tick-Tock from the shelf. "This one is perfect for you. He's loud, accurate, and very dependable." David had smiled and bought Tick-Tock right away. From that first day, they had been a perfect team. David set the alarm every night before bed, and Tick-Tock woke him up every morning without fail. Tick-Tock was proud that he had never been late, not even once. While other clocks in other houses sometimes failed or ran slow, Tick-Tock always kept perfect time. He practiced his wake-up call every day, making sure his bell was loud and clear. During the day, while David was at work, Tick-Tock would talk to the other appliances in the apartment. There was Betty the refrigerator, who was always humming softly in the kitchen. She was older and wiser than Tick-Tock, and she often gave him advice about life. "The secret to being a good appliance," Betty would say, "is to always do your job with love. When you care about your human, your work becomes more than just a job. It becomes a way to help someone you care about." There was also Tony the television, who liked to tell stories about all the programs he showed. Tony was very entertaining, but sometimes he stayed on too late at night, and Tick-Tock would have to remind him to be quiet so David could sleep well. In the kitchen lived Mike the microwave, who was always excited about heating up food. Mike was young and energetic, always ready to help with breakfast, lunch, or dinner. He admired tick-tock because the little clock was so responsible. "I wish I had your job," Mike would say. "Waking up humans seems so important. All I do is heat up leftover pizza." "Every job is important," tick-tock would reply. "David needs good food just as much as he needs to wake up on time. We all work together to take care of him." For 3 years, this routine never changed. David would go to bed at 10:30, set tick-tock's alarm for 7 in the morning, and the little clock would wake him up with pride and joy. David would shower, eat breakfast that Mike helped prepare, and then leave for work with a smile. But then something happened that changed everything. One day, David came home from work, looking very tired and worried. He sat on his bed and made a phone call. "Yes, I understand," David said into his phone. "Starting next week, I'll work from home. No, I don't need to come to the office every day anymore. Thank you." Tick-tock didn't understand what this meant at first. The next Monday morning, he rang his bell at 7 o'clock, as usual. "Wake up, wake up, time to start your day." But instead of jumping out of bed, David rolled over and turned off the alarm. "I don't need to get up so early anymore," David mumbled sleepily. "I work from home now. I can sleep until 8:30. Tick-tock was confused. Sleep until 8:30? But 7 o'clock was wake-up time. It had always been wake-up time. The next morning, Tick-tock rang his bell again at 7. Wake up, he called. But again, David just turned off the alarm and went back to sleep. This time, David changed the alarm setting to 8:30. Tick-tock felt very strange. For 3 years, he had been waking David up at 7 o'clock. It was his most important job, his reason for existing. Now, suddenly, he wasn't needed for an extra hour and a half every day. As the weeks went by, things got worse. Sometimes, David would work very late into the night, typing on his computer. When morning came, he would turn off the alarm and sleep until 9 o'clock, or even 10. "I can start work whenever I want," David would say to himself. That's the best thing about working from home. But this was not the best thing for Tick-tock. The little clock felt more and more useless every day. His most important job, waking David up on time, was becoming less and less important. Tick-tock talked to Betty the refrigerator about his problem. "I don't understand," he said sadly. "I used to be so important. David needed me every single day. Now, sometimes he doesn't even set my alarm at all." Betty hummed thoughtfully. "Change is hard," she said. "When David first moved here, he used to eat out every day. I felt useless too. But then he started cooking at home, and suddenly I was very important again. Maybe David will need you again soon." "But what if he doesn't?" Tick-tock asked. "What if he never needs to wake up early again? What if I'm not important anymore?" "You're always important," said Mike the microwave from the kitchen. "Even if your job changes, you're still David's clock. You still keep time for him. You still help him know when it's time for lunch, or time to stop working, or time to go to bed. Tony the television had a different opinion. Maybe you should try to do something new, he suggested. I used to only show the news, but now I play movies and games too. Maybe you could learn to do more than just wake people up. But TikTok didn't want to do something new. He wanted to do his old job, the job he loved, the job he was proud of. He was an alarm clock, not a regular clock. His purpose was to wake people up when they needed to get up. As more weeks passed, David's sleep schedule became even more irregular. Some nights he would stay up until 2 in the morning, working on his computer or watching movies. Then he would sleep until 11 or 12 the next day. TikTok watched all of this with growing worry. David looked tired all the time now. He wasn't eating regular meals because he wasn't waking up at regular times. He was staying in his pajamas until noon, and sometimes he forgot to shower or brush his teeth. This isn't good for him, TikTok said to Betty. David was happier when he had a regular schedule. He was healthier when he woke up at 7 o'clock every day. I agree, Betty said. He used to eat breakfast every morning. Now, sometimes he doesn't eat anything until dinner time. That's not good for a young man. Mike was worried too. He used to ask me to heat up his breakfast every morning at 7:30. Now I sit here all morning with nothing to do. David doesn't eat until he's been awake for hours. Even Tony was concerned. David used to watch the morning news with me before going to work. It was our special time together. Now, he only watches me late at night, and usually he falls asleep in front of me. I don't think he's happy. The appliances all agreed that David seemed less happy than before. But what could they do? They were just machines. They couldn't tell David how to live his life. Then, one evening, something happened that changed everything. David was sitting at his computer, looking at an email. TikTok could see David's face, and the young man looked very excited. "This is it," David said out loud. "This is the job interview I've been waiting for. The best company in the city wants to meet me." David read the email again. "Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. This could change my whole life." TikTok felt excited too. A job interview. This sounded very important. David would need to wake up early, take a shower, eat a good breakfast, and arrive on time. This was exactly the kind of situation where an alarm clock was most important. David set TikTok's alarm for 6:30 in the morning. "I need extra time to get ready," David explained to himself. "This interview is too important to be late for." TikTok was thrilled. Finally, he would be able to do his most important job again. He would wake David up early, and David would have time to prepare properly for his big interview. But then David made a terrible mistake. Instead of going to bed early to get enough sleep, David stayed up very late. He was nervous about the interview, so he spent hours reading about the company on the internet. He practiced answers to interview questions. He chose his clothes and laid them out carefully. When David finally went to bed, it was almost 3 o'clock in the morning. TikTok was very worried. David had only set the alarm 3.5 hours away. That wasn't enough sleep for such an important day. At 6:30 in the morning, TikTok's alarm went off as planned. Wake up! Wake up! Time for your important interview. But David was so tired from staying up late that he didn't hear the alarm. He was sleeping too deeply. TikTok rang louder. Wake up! Wake up! Your interview is today. Still, David didn't wake up. His hand reached out and turned off the alarm, but David himself didn't wake up. He just rolled over and kept sleeping. TikTok was in panic. This had never happened before. In 3 years, David had always woken up when the alarm rang. Even when he didn't want to get up, even when he was very tired, David had always responded to TikTok's call. The little clock looked at his own face. 6:35, 6:40, 6:45. David was supposed to leave for his interview at 7:30 to arrive on time, but he was still sleeping. TikTok called out to the other appliances. Help me, David isn't waking up. He has an important interview today. What can we do? Asked Betty sadly. We can't wake him up. Only you can do that. But he turned off my alarm, TikTok said desperately. He's not hearing me. Mike had an idea. What if we all make noise together? Maybe if all of us try to wake him up, he'll hear us. It was worth trying. Betty started humming as loudly as she could. Mike began beeping his timer. Tony turned on and started playing music loudly. But David just put a pillow over his head and kept sleeping. He was too tired to wake up. 7 o'clock came and went. Then 7:15, 7:20. TikTok realized that David was going to miss his interview, the most important interview of David's life, and he was going to sleep through it because he was too tired to hear his alarm clock. The little clock felt terrible. This was all his fault. If he had been a better alarm clock, if he had been louder, if he had tried harder, David would be awake by now. But then TikTok had an idea. What if he could ring his alarm again, even though David had turned it off? TikTok had never tried to ring without being set, but maybe if he concentrated very hard, he could make himself ring anyway. It was worth trying. David's future depended on it. TikTok closed his eyes and thought about all the mornings he had successfully woken David up. He thought about how proud he felt when David jumped out of bed with a smile. He thought about how much he cared about David and how much he wanted David to be happy and successful. Then, with all his energy and all his love for David, TikTok began to ring. Ring! 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 It worked! Even though his alarm wasn't set, even though David had turned him off, TikTok was ringing. Wake up, David, he called out with all his strength. Your interview! You have to get up right now! The sound was so loud and so urgent that David finally opened his eyes. What? What time is it? David looked at TikTok's face. 7:25. Oh no, my interview. David jumped out of bed faster than he had ever moved before. He ran to the shower, brushed his teeth while the water was warming up, and took the fastest shower of his life. Thank you, Tick-tock, David called out as he got dressed. I don't know how you started ringing again, but you saved me. Mike quickly heated up some breakfast for David. Betty made sure his orange juice was cold. Tony turned on the news so David could check the weather. David was ready to leave in just 20 minutes. As he grabbed his keys and headed for the door, he stopped and looked back at Tick-tock. I don't know what I would do without you, David said seriously. I almost ruined everything by sleeping too late. You're the best alarm clock in the world. After David left, the apartment was quiet. Tick-tock felt exhausted from ringing so hard, but he also felt happier than he had in months. That was amazing, said Mike. How did you ring your alarm when David had turned it off? I don't really know, Tick-tock admitted. I just knew that David needed me, and I had to find a way to help him. You did the right thing, said Betty wisely. That's what love does. When you really care about someone, you find ways to help them, even when it seems impossible. That evening, David came home with the biggest smile Tick-tock had ever seen. I got the job, David announced to his empty apartment. I start next Monday, and I'll be working in the office again, not at home. Tick-tock's heart filled with joy. David would be working in the office again. That meant he would need to wake up early every morning. That meant Tick-tock's most important job was coming back. But then David said something that surprised the little clock. And Tick-tock, David said, looking directly at the alarm clock, I'm going to start going to bed earlier and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends. These past few months, I've realized how much better I feel when I have a regular schedule. And I've realized how much I need you. David picked up Tick-tock and looked at him carefully. I don't understand how you woke me up this morning when I had turned off your alarm, David said thoughtfully. But somehow you knew I needed you, and you found a way to help me. That's what real friends do. David set Tick-tock back on the bedside table and set the alarm for 6:30 in the morning. From now on, David said, we're going to be a team again. You'll wake me up every morning, and I'll listen to you every time. Deal? Tick-tock couldn't speak to David, but if he could, he would have said, deal, forever and always. That night, Tick-tock felt happier than he had felt in months. He had his job back, but more than that, he had learned something important about himself. Being an alarm clock wasn't just about ringing at the right time. It was about caring for David and finding ways to help him, even when it seemed impossible. It was about being there when David needed him most, whether that was every single morning or just on the most important morning of David's life. I think I understand now, Tick-tock said to Betty before David went to sleep. Understand what? Betty asked. What you said about doing our jobs with love, Tick-tock explained. I thought my job was just to ring at 7 o'clock every morning. But my real job is to take care of David. Sometimes that means waking him up every day. Sometimes that means letting him sleep when he needs to. And sometimes that means finding a way to ring, even when he thinks he doesn't need me. That's exactly right, Betty said warmly. You're not just an alarm clock anymore, Tick-tock. You're David's friend. The next morning, Tick-tock woke David up at 6:30 exactly. David jumped out of bed with a smile, just like in the old days. "Good morning, TikTok," David said cheerfully. "Thank you for helping me start another great day." As David got ready for his new job, TikTok realized that he was no longer a lonely alarm clock. He was a happy alarm clock with an important job and a human friend who needed him. And that made all the difference in the world.